Hi guys, Bricks here, come to you with another video. In today's video, I'll be showing you guys another mock. This time, I'm going to be showing you guys multiple people in the community's favourite vehicle, and that is the Republic Gunship, most notably seen in Episode 2 Attack of the Clones, The Clone Wars, and Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith. Now, before we dive in, of course, if you do like the content you see here, please click like, subscribe. And yeah, let's dive straight into this massive badass of a ship. So, starting off with the front of this vehicle, which is of course the 501st version of this, you can see it has the familiar, as to say, colours of the Republic Gunship, but it's in blue, which is to replicate the 501st, as it says on the sticker right here. And if you haven't seen the Hichori version of this, it's basically a bigger version of that, but it's much stronger compared to that one in some areas. But the actual cockpit here can fit a minifigure. You can obviously take him in and out. The only compromise I would say for this is the fact that you have to take the arms off the minifigure, which for some people can be a bummer, others not so much. This is mostly for display in most areas. Even though it does have a few play features, it wouldn't really put it anywhere to play because I feel as if it would break if you did try and fly this about, as in literally do what a kit does and fly it and throw it all over the place. It's not exactly built for that, just as any mock is, to be honest. But moving on to the wings. The wings are basically the exact same as to what they were in the Hichori design that I did for the 501st. And it still fits really good in this scale. It may be a tad small, but in my opinion it just looks just right, and it's just barely, I wouldn't say just barely, but it's not touching the ground, which is good. And they're not really going to go any further than this because there's a couple of slopes that are holding it down in place, and that's to make sure that it stays and you don't really have to constantly reposition them. The actual turrets up here are the gun missile pods at the top. They're not really changed. They're still the exact same design with the 4x4 round bricks and a couple of plates, and it still looks really good for this version. At the very top of the gunship, you have a couple of slopes to make it nice and smooth, as you would normally do. You have the missile area. I'm not entirely sure. I can't exactly remember what it's called, but you have your missiles there, and they can't be fired. They're just stuck there, as this is a display. Towards the rear of it, you can see that it's got these grill pieces at the back to replicate some of the thrust, and it's not really that detailed at the back here. It's just like a big grey blob and a couple of plates. But the actual main feature of this gunship is what everybody looks forward to in the gunship, and that is the fact that you can open up the troop bay, which opens very similar to the last design, but is a little bit more sleek, and it obviously has two doors, which is accurate to the Clone Wars closed version. And if I open these up at both sides, you can see that there is plenty of space for your minifigures. I did initially have a custom Commander Apple in here, but he's not there, unfortunately. However, you can fit at least, I want to say, 6 minifigures in this cargo area, and as you can see, there's a couple of bits for your blasters on a couple of studs, and it's really, well, I wouldn't say it's really spacious, but it's more spacious than it was on the Hichori K64 version. The only unfortunate thing about this cargo bay is the fact that you can't actually stand your troops up, you have to sit them down, which is a compromise just because of how small this thing is. Well, it's not that small that you can't fit any minifigures in here, but it's small enough that you can set minifigures in there. And another thing about the cockpit, or the troop bay, is that you also have this small door, which is seen in most Republic Gunship designs, and it just leads into the cargo bay, and it seamlessly sometimes can go up here. And if you're wanting to close these back up, it's relatively simple. You got a couple of these joints and rods and things like that, just to, you know, get that sliding function. So you do that at either side if you open up both sides, and they just about seamlessly fit right next to each other. Not exactly into the full design, but, or it's not flush against the side here, but it still fits in enough to somewhat be not exactly stand out or awkwardly stand out, which is pretty nice. At the top here you have a couple of wedge pieces here on their side, attached by a couple of brackets with a couple of tiles on them, which I think is a really nice and sleek design. Others may disagree, but I really like this design, and it's sometimes used, or more commonly used, in other people's MOCs, apart from the tiles bit here. And yeah, let's get on to the final part of this video. So yeah guys, that's going to be it for me. Of course, small details before we leave out. I do plan on making instructions for these, but it probably won't be for a while, seeing as I'm trying to catch up to schoolwork and there's a hell of a lot of things to be done before my actual exams. So it should be done within the next month or so. If not, it'll be probably around about Christmas, and it should have a couple more modifications onto that because some of the pieces have been compromised to actually make it stable. But in terms of that design, it'll probably be a little bit more sleeker than this one. But yeah, that's just going to be the gist of this video. Of course, if you do like the content you see here, please comment and subscribe. In terms of schedule, I've still got a couple of other MOCs about the place. I think I have one on Saturday, which will be the Cad Bane Brickhead. Small teaser for that, but yeah, that's going to be it for me. I'm Inferno, and may the Force be with you always.